What's up, everybody who is maybe in the 404? Are you excited for a new host? Bryce Koon is officially on the ACC roster. He's going to talk to us about the Yellow Jackets, get us excited for what should be a good basketball season, a tough football offseason. All of these things sound like a great time. So let's give it up for Bryce here one time.
Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On ACC. We are excited for a new host, part of the ACC family. Bryce Koon is joining us. He'll be covering Locked On Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets will be full effect. He'll cover football and basketball, but I'm going to let him give you the whole intro because, of course, I can never drop enough accolades for him. So, Bryce, welcome to the family.
Appreciate it, Candace. Excited to get underway. And, man, this is yesterday, I guess earlier this week was the first episode, but I don't think there's a better time to start off. Football season ended. There is no such thing as an off season. I've already told people that. And then obviously college basketball, we all know in the ACC is where, we love football, but man, college basketball is kind of where the diehards are, especially in this conference. So man, it's an awesome opportunity, and just to get underway with you guys has been a ton of fun already.
Yeah, Georgia Tech, ACC champions in basketball, men's basketball at that, ACC women's basketball. They're not some, slobs either. So I think you guys got a good season ahead of you. I see the Atlanta Braves thing in the background. So are you an Atlanta guy through and through?
I am. So I've dealt with a lot of heartbreak, but this year, man, this has been an awesome year, especially for Georgia Tech fans. Like you said, the women's basketball program, sometimes it gets, especially this season, overshined a little bit because what the men did. But, man, both programs are really, top 25 contenders, obviously what the men did this year, and then women making a run in the NCAA tournament. And then you have the Atlanta Braves. So you said it earlier, the 404, it's starting to get a little more recognition, and I'm excited because I know the people of Atlanta are desperate, hungry to have something to be excited about.
I know. And let's talk about football for a second because it was a little bit dicey over this past weekend. We had a Week 13 show, and if you haven't listened to Locked On ACC, strongly encourage. But we gave that conversation about 5 seconds. I'm not even going to hold you. That Georgia Tech game, we were like, okay, it was a blowout, but that's kind of the same conversation we gave during the Notre Dame game. So I want to know from you, what is the feeling going on in Atlanta? A lot of turnover, right? Of course, Coach is not gone yet, but some people are saying, I said I would run through a brick wall for him. Coach Collins, I could run through a brick wall for him. But I understand a little bit people getting a little frustrated and maybe one time to go. Jahmyr Gibbs deciding to enter the transfer portal. Carolina, if you're listening, I'm just saying, I'm ready for the opportunity to get a good guy like that. So let's talk about this football program and what in the world is going on over there.
What hasn't gone on? Listen, the past 48 hours up until Saturday has been crazy across college football, but Georgia Tech has seen a ton of turnover, roster turnover. Even as we're speaking, people are signing the paperwork and entering the transfer portal. I keep telling people we're going to have to open a second portal because this one is ridiculous. I think we had over 100 players enter. But listen, going back to that game, I like how you said you spent 5 seconds. I'm going to spend maybe 5 or 10 seconds saying that first off, and the first episode of Locked On Georgia Tech, if you listened or if you haven't, go back and listen to it in the last segment of the day, I talked about how that rivalry has to mean something going forward. This is one of the great historical rivalries, I feel like, especially regionally. And unfortunately, as many of my friends and family have coined it as, it's more often than the game that allows you to recover from your Black Friday shopping and maybe your Thanksgiving food coma before the big games take on later in the day. So, it's become that, and I hate that because it really is. There's a lot of history, and so that was unfortunate, really a non-competitive game, but it's led into just this whirlwind. Georgia Tech is rumored to be, having a potential defensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator opening, plus a couple key position coaches, while all trying to keep a recruiting class that is the best we've seen for Georgia Tech in the past decade. So it's a tough task. Signing day is literally 15 days, 16 days away. So this is a tough task for whoever they bring in. I think, Candace, obviously this is my first time meeting you and everything. I think that you were at ACC Media Days in Charlotte.
I was.
And so if you were there, so you heard Coach Collins. Listen, he's a rah-rah guy. You want to run through a building. Like, absolutely. I get that. The unfortunate thing is the fan base is kind of wanting to see some results. 9 wins in 3 years. I get that. But I keep telling people, if I was asking you to do your job and you didn't have the necessary tools, it'd be pretty hard. I think Collins has that mentality to lead a program.
Yeah.
It's more often getting the right people and personnel in there to make a difference. So the fan base is hungry, I'll tell you that. And that's something that they want to do. The last 5-6 days have been rough. Let's say that. Even dating back to the Notre Dame game. I mean, outscored 100-0 in your last 2 games. That's rough. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the fact that Jeff Sims, Jordan Yates, who's going to lead the troop going forward? Because Jeff Sims, he has potential. We talked about him all preseason. Like, we thought he was going to have a better year with Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield. Like, that's a good 1-2 punch. But his accuracy is like, good night. Who are you throwing to? Let me know, because I don't think you know.
I don't know. And I'll tell you this little nugget that's dropping literally as recording is Jordan Yates entered the transfer portal like an hour ago.
Okay, let's go.
And listen, I'll say this, about Jordan Yates, my time talking with him ever since he was at Milton High School, a state champion, stand-up kid, like the kind of kid that you want to bring to a media day to represent your program. He graduated from Georgia Tech in 3.5 years. That's not something that really happens. I mean, that's what's crazy. So he's going to pursue, as well as hundreds of others, another opportunity, and all the power to him. Yeah. So right now, this is Jeff Sims' team. He's seen his best friends in Jahmyr Gibbs leave. I will tell you this, at the quarterback position, my thought process all year, and you talked about the accuracy, I felt like a lot of times we see quarterbacks try to make a hero type of play when the offensive line is not as consistent. Georgia Tech's offensive line, I'll say it, it was bad, very bad.
Very bad. I get it. Yep.
Yeah, it's bad. Okay. So I talked to my man JJ Jackson, and we feel it. Duke and Georgia Tech football was pretty rough this season. That was like the least watched game all season long, Duke and Georgia Tech. But I felt like Sims was trying to make some plays because he knew he didn't have a lot of time. He didn't have a lot of time to do much. And so I think the biggest thing going forward is if the offensive line play is better and what we're seeing out of Jeff Sims currently is that remains the same, then you make a change. Yeah. But until you kind of accurately get some pieces in there to help him, they've got skill position players, even with the loss of Gibbs. But they still got some skill position depth. But until you get an offensive line that can consistently make him feel comfortable, it's really tough to judge a quarterback. Now, listen, they've got a couple backups. Chaden Peary from out in California, he is going to be a hot commodity and a hot pick for a lot of people. I don't think there's anybody more exciting for a fan base than the backup quarterback, but you better be careful what you wish for. That's all I got to say on that. They've got a recruit coming in, Zach Pyron, who's going to be a ton of fun to watch. It's going to be a competition. I mean, that's what Collins has preached. Competition is king. But I think with a better offensive line, I've said this, the potential for Jeff Sims is off the charts, in my opinion. I just think he has that potential. Will he reach that in his time in Atlanta?
It's so funny that you talk about Duke and Georgia Tech. Love talking to JJ all the time. But that was a pivotal game, I think, for both teams, because the fact that Georgia Tech struggled against Duke was like, all right, maybe everything that glitters ain't gold. Yeah. And then the fact that Duke couldn't get that win out, I was like, oh, it's going to be a long one, because that was the one they had to win. If they had come away with that, I think we have a different season for the Blue Devils. But, man, it was a rough go. But let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about some bright spots, the basketball program. I know there are big things coming with Coach and the squad. How are you feeling about the Yellow Jackets on the men's side?
Well, on the men's side, listen, this is a team that is 5-1 currently. They had that struggle, that loss to Miami of Ohio in the beginning, which was that's a veteran team. Basketball is really weird, and I caution fans when we get to that. You can have mid-major teams that have a lot of seniors, and that plays a dividend. It's not like you're playing a mid-major team in football, and I've said this too, and the joke was Georgia Tech needs to stay away from the MAC. In football, they got beat by Northern Illinois. Miami, Ohio, they get beat in opening game basketball, so that does not bode well for them. But listen, they've also kind of been hit with this non-COVID bug that a lot of teams have been hitting with. Last Friday, Black Friday, in fact, they played Georgia Southern. They had 8 players available. You think about that for basketball. Like, that's crazy. And it wasn't even – it was 4 of their starters were out.
Wow.
Michael DeVoe has been fantastic so far this season, picking up where he left off with that ACC tournament MVP. But they've got a tough stretch. I got the schedule right in front of me. Wednesday, when we're recording this is Tuesday. My days are messed up.
It's okay.
So bad.
It's once the pandemic hit, you don't know what day it is.
Yeah.
You just
I literally went on Twitter and asked some of the followers and said, can I take a lunch break today? Because this is ridiculous. But Wednesday, December the 1st, Big Ten ACC Challenge. I think it's the last one of the challenge itself. Wisconsin comes to McCamish Pavilion. That is going to be a game. I know they're already hyping up on social media. You want to be there. Then Sunday, we get a preview of ACC play. They just threw one right in there with North Carolina coming. And then the Holiday Hoops giving up at State Farm Arena, they're playing LSU. So the next 3 games, 2 non-conference, and all 3 of those teams potentially NCAA tournament teams. I feel good about it. It's a young team with some veteran talent. Last year, I think what got them there was a lot of veteran experience, Candace.
Right.
We saw Alvarado. But listen, when you lose a guy like Alvarado and Moses Wright, you're going to have some growing pains. The big thing is they've been able to navigate that and still win 5 out of their first 6 games. This will be a telling stretch, though, because for people who don't know, I'm also a little bit of a play-by-play broadcaster, so I've called some of their games.
Okay, come on. Let's get out here.
So I've called some of their games, and I'll tell you this. A name to watch that'll probably be on an all-freshman list of the ACC is Dallin Debo Coleman.
Okay.
My man can splash from downtown. So he was the State of Florida Player of the Year last year. So a very talented, the highest-rated recruit that they've had in the 5 or 6 years that Pastner's been there, 6, 7 years. So this is it's a fun team. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and it kicks off on Wednesday night with the McCamish with Wisconsin, North Carolina, LSU, and we all know once you get into ACC play, there's never a day off. I don't care who you're playing. Right. Even Wake Forest, I'll call you out. Even Wake Forest, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, when you think about just what ACC is going to be this season, last year, it was a crapshoot. I think anybody could have won on any given night. A little bit more this season as well. What are you expecting from the ACC conference as a whole?
Well, listen, you're not wrong. I mean, last year we saw blue bloods across college basketball be affected. I think, and we're going back to JJ, Duke is good, really good.
Yeah,
they are very good. And so I think we're seeing the return of Duke. North Carolina still trying to break in and get that rhythm. They lost a lot, obviously, in the coaching side, but I think they got the right guy for the job. I think they made a good decision with that. But, the ACC as a whole, I mean, this is a conference that prides itself on basketball, and they pride themselves for so many years as the premier conference for basketball. And I told some people this, I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, which is about an hour and a half south of Atlanta. So that's in the heart of SEC country.
Yeah.
The SEC in basketball has taken a step over the past 3 to 5 years where we're starting to see it compete at a national level. I think we're going to see the ACC kind of regain that. Going back to Wake Forest, I think that the man they hired out of ETSU, and his name's escaped me, I think that was even a good hire. I mean, the conference is doing a better job of trying to have a little more parity. And I think Georgia Tech winning it last year showed some teams, hey, it doesn't have to be Duke, North Carolina, Virginia every single season. I think Florida State's another team that they just reload down in Tallahassee. It's ridiculous. Virginia, they're always going to be a great defensive team. I know a lot of Georgia Tech fans were tuned into the Georgia-Virginia game over, and I bet that's the only time you're going to catch them cheering for Virginia, when it's against the team for the boys over in Athens. But, for me, I think this conference is going to ascend back to where they were previously. Last year was just an outlier year, a weird year, especially with the COVID and having so many freshmen and so many one-and-done programs. I'm scared of Duke. I'll say it. Duke. Did you watch that Duke Gonzaga game? Like, that was ridiculous.
Yeah. Paolo Banchero is definitely someone that I'm like, whoo, one and done. Like, let's end Coach K's reign right. And I think he's trying to have his sights on 6.
And the rest of the conference is like, yeah, one and done. Go ahead, buddy. We want you 1 year, and then you make your money at the NBA level, because we don't want you around the ACC for much longer.
Absolutely. I think it'll be interesting because Hubert Davis is kind of doing what John Shire will do next season, right? Having to get through those kinks. And so, of course, it's always fun when your rival has to learn the hard way. But you were mentioning Wake Forest Coach Forbes. He has certainly turned things around, and he was just talking about not being able to talk to his players because of COVID. So finally getting able to communicate and see them in person, that makes a world of difference, and we can see that. But also when you just look at the conference as a whole, you have your veterans, you have your blue bloods and your new bloods. I think on any given night, though, anybody is vulnerable. Like, you have to play your best ball in this conference, which I think is fun. Like, I was talking about that for ACC football. You have to play your best ball because you just never know how things are going. Especially, we know the Wild Wild Coastal and how that goes down. But quickly on the women, we know that normally it's all about NC State, Louisville, but Georgia Tech has certainly put their names out there. And I want to hear from you. What do you think these women are going to do, especially come conference play time, which is quickly approaching, and then towards the end of the season?
Listen, this team has kind of flown under the radar, as a lot of teams do that in this ACC conference across women's basketball. For the casual observer, you think of UConn and South Carolina, and I get that. I understand that. If you don't pay a lot of attention, but the ACC, like you said, has some talented teams. But this Georgia Tech team, they have what was the big thing for me? I love Nell Fortner. Like sitting in her press conferences, you talk about running through a wall. Like Nell Fortner is one of those too. The whole Georgia Tech staff does that. Pastner's press conferences are hysterical. Yeah. He talked about Kleenexes and tissues for 20 minutes the other day. Is
he wearing the visor this year, or is he letting that go?
He's not, but part of the student section is.
Okay.
In support of him. They're saying he should keep it on if it gives us an ACC title. But listen, this team in Georgia Tech women, they were able to bring back a lot of the players. And anytime you bring back experience, now I caution you because sometimes bring back experience, you want it to be good experience. Yeah. That's what the Georgia Tech women have. They have really good experience. And this team is deep. They have some veteran talent. They lost some players already due to the transfer portal. They've lost a guard to an injury early in the season. But Nell Fortner does such a good job of communication on the court with her team. You can tell this team's close. They love playing together. And I think that matters in a conference that, has some elite teams, and Georgia Tech's kind of on the cusp of that over the past couple of seasons of becoming that. This is a tournament team, in my opinion, and it's going to make for a fun time. And I've told fans, don't just go to, the men's games, go to the women's games too, because this program, it's a bona fide, legitimate program. I know that, if someone said, well, just wait until we play a team like UConn, and I get that. UConn's like the New England Patriots under Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. I get that. It's like Alabama with Nick Saban.
Right.
But this team is more than capable of springing an upset over an elite team while also establishing themselves as one of the great teams in women's college basketball.
Yeah, listen, Coach Banghart from the UNC, I love going to women's games because I'm just like, if you like good basketball, and women get into that. Like, I know an athlete is an athlete, right? But these ladies, they get busy, and I'm always
physical. It's physical.
For some quality ball.
People say basketball is a contact sport, both on the men and women's side. It is completely. You go watch a game, especially the ACC. It's a rough and tough game on both the women and the men's side.
Yeah, these ladies are not playing. So a lot of good talk football, a lot of good talk basketball, both men's and women's. What can your fans who are going to listen to Locked On Georgia Tech expect every single day when they come listen to you?
Well, listen, you can expect we're not going to sunshine pump it, but we're going to be realistic. Okay. We're going to be real. And so I'm going to be real with it. I think that's the best way to do it and connect with that. And my most important thing with having this show and talking with fans is want to make it about them. I want to know what you like to know. I mean, what do you want to hear? I think that's important, listening to the audience. So obviously with Locked On Georgia Tech every single day, we're going to be bringing a lot of recruiting because that's kind of on the football side where they are right now. We need to know who's coming in and what those guys are like. We're going to have some interviews with recruits, which is going to be a ton of fun, some interviews with some people around the program as well on the football side, but also basketball, women's basketball. And I got to shout it out, Candace. The women's volleyball team is in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, probably the most exciting sport on campus right now is volleyball. Yeah. They pack out that arena. It's so much fun for those games at O'Keefe Gymnasium there in Atlanta. So you're going to get a wide variety. This is not just going to be a Georgia Tech football show, although I understand football does dominate the conversation right now. We're going to be talking about men's basketball, women's basketball, volleyball, which enters into the NCAA tournament they're hosting this weekend. So, man, it's going to be a ton of fun, and I encourage, I tell people all the time, the reason I wanted to do this was because the city of Atlanta, it's dominated by professional sports. Unfortunately, the red and black over in Athens, they get a lot of media coverage and sometimes deemed as Atlanta's team. But Georgia Tech's right there in the heart of the city. I think it's one of the premier places to go play college athletics when it's at its best. And I think they're growing, and I don't think there's a better time. And fans are starved for, attention. Talking with someone today, so they don't ever talk about our team on the radio. And I said, well, that's why we have this show. Every single day, you're going to get to hear about your favorite Yellow Jacket program. So I'm excited to join and grow this ACC family, which is going to be a fun one.
I know.
For people listening, I've been in a group chat with the Locked On College people in the ACC, and I'm not comfortable yet enough to throw out jokes and everything, but I will eventually because that's my personality. But these people are hysterical, and it's a good family. It's a good group to be a part of.
Yeah, Bryce, you got to throw out some jokes because we let it fly all right around here. No, it's good.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'll have to work with something.
For sure. I've been in Atlanta. I swam, obviously, at Carolina, then took my talents. I swam at Georgia Tech, beautiful pool, Olympic-sized pool, all that good stuff, right?
Yes.
But I think
they actually host the GHSA state championships there still.
I believe it.
I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome.
I 100% believe. I think Georgia Tech just has this unique, place about them. So I'm saying if you want to have like the Migos or 2 Chainz on your show, I'll put in a word. We can put it out here in the universe right here.
We'll put it out in the universe right now. If I'll take both of them. I'll take both of them. if 2 Chainz and Migos just want to be on the podcast, I'll go behind the screen and just let them talk. I don't know if that episode will be available to the general public, but we'll have to see how that works.
I don't know if that'll be the clean version, but I guarantee you that will be the most listened to ACC affiliated Locked On Podcast Network show, which I'm totally fine for. You can upstage me anytime. Can you remind these folks of where they can find you and follow all of your work?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, find me on Twitter. That's where most of the content's come from. @Bryce_Koon right there below. We do not have a Locked On Georgia Tech Twitter account, so it kind of works though, because with me covering Georgia Tech, anything that you want plus this podcast is going to be all found there on Twitter as well. And make sure to hit us up, obviously, any place that you find your podcast. I mean, I know people have said, "Hey, well, what about Google? What about Spotify?" It's everywhere, anywhere and everywhere you want to find Locked On Georgia Tech. And I encourage everyone to kind of listen to that as well, because it's a ton of fun and we're rocking and rolling. Not a better time to launch a podcast than the week after football season, and really starting to get into the heart of college basketball season.
Let me tell you, all the Georgia Tech fans came out in droves. I ain't never seen so many Georgia Tech fans following Locked On ACC.
Awesome. It was good.
They were ready, Bryce. They were like, "Is the episode up? Can we do this? Like, what's going on?"
I had people DMing me on Twitter, "Hey, when's this going to be up? Like, are you going to get around?" I was like, "Well, I mean, I'm trying.
Baby, you a hit.
We're going to keep rolling. We're going to keep rolling."
There we go. I mean, just if anybody's listening, they want to join the ACC family. I'm just saying, Bryce is the man. So clearly,
there we go.
Just shout it out. But no, it's always a great time, especially fun to have a new voice to the part of our ACC family. So Bryce, I wish you all the success. I can't wait to listen. I'm excited to listen to episode 1. Thank you for making everybody your first listen, people. If you start with Locked On ACC, then hit up Locked On Georgia Tech, or vice versa. Whatever you do, make sure you follow us at Locked On ACC on Twitter. And until next time, we are going to keep things rocking and rolling. Wednesday, we have Power Rankings with AJ Black from Locked On Boston College. So we look forward to having that episode for you then. Until next time.